Hello everyone, my name is Samantha Strauss and thank you for watching my Ignite speech. I'm going to be talking about the origin of superstition, both historically and psychologically. So the numbers that are about to come up, they're from a survey conducted by 60 Minutes of 2,000 people. 54% of people say they are not superstitious at all, yet in the same survey, 85% of people admit to saying God bless you when someone sneezes, and 60% admit to knocking on wood. It's possible that these behaviors are so ingrained in our culture we don't even realize the superstitious power that they have. So there are many questions asked by researchers such as, where do the beliefs come from, why do we perpetuate them, and do they form some kind of function? So my goal is to explore these areas of research along with finding quirks in American culture and other countries too. So we'll start with the different eras of belief systems. The classical period starting in 8th century began to challenge the existence of gods. The Middle Ages began in the 5th century and the beliefs of gods was unquestioned. And it wasn't until the Renaissance era in 1300 AD where we began to see the opposition of superstition come back. And some philosophers such as Lucretius in the center, Cicero on the left, and Plato on the right were some of the philosophers that pioneered this questioning of superstition in religion. So we'll start by talking about very specific superstitions, such as knocking on wood. It's a little ambiguous where it came from. Some people believe it came from pagan culture. Some people believe it's in association with the wooden cross that Jesus was crucified on. But variations are found all over the world. The avoidance of opening umbrellas indoors is a bit more straightforward. So early Western umbrellas in the 18th century were really hard to open and close, and if you opened them, you would risk injuring someone or breaking a nearby object. The fear of breaking a mirror has some really cool mythology behind it. Ancient Greeks associated reflective surfaces with a pathway to the gods, so if you broke a mirror, you were severing that pathway to the gods, and Romans believed that the body renewed itself every 7 years, hence where the time frame comes from. And for the number 13 being seen as unlucky, a popular explanation comes from Friday the 13th, where the Knights of Templar were arrested, and also in the Last Supper, Judas is the final and 13th guest to arrive, so with his betrayal of Jesus, that could be where the fear of 13 comes from. So many well-known superstitions in the 19th century are now forgotten, such as if you clip a baby's fingernails before it's 1 year old, they'll be a thief. If you see a white horse, you should make a wish and it'll come true. And if you're a woman making a fire for dinner and it goes out, your husband will be lazy. So far all of the superstitions we've touched on are currently or have been popular in Western culture, so now we'll take a look at other cultures all over the world, such as the Navajo and the Chinese. So the Navajo have hundreds of superstitions, most of them centered around nature and their fear of nighttime. So if you point at a rainbow, it's said the rainbow will break your finger, as pointing is seen as aggressive and a sign of bad luck. If there's a lunar eclipse, the Navajo are scared to fall asleep that they won't wake up, so they just stay awake the whole night. And in the Chinese culture, it's really interesting because their superstitions are associated with social etiquette. They're also associated with the fear of death. So giving a clock to someone is rude because it's a symbol of their death and their funeral. And the number 4 is nearly homophonous with the Chinese word for death. So colonization and trade, as they increase throughout the world, so do the sharing of beliefs and superstitions. So Eastern cultures tend to be similar, as Western cultures seem to be similar to each other. So they are signals of our culture and our ancestors. So far we've looked at where superstitions come from geographically, but why do we choose to believe in these behaviors? What makes us actually think that crossing our fingers will do something good? Why does irrationality overpower logic? So next I want to look at the human mind and our behaviors. So in a famous experiment conducted by B.F. Skinner, he had the belief that pigeons could hold superstitious beliefs. He conditioned them to turn clockwise in order to receive food, despite there being no causality between their behaviors and the food. So then later in human research, it was shown that if someone had a good luck charm, it was shown to increase their performance and reduce their anxiety. And then psychologist Jane Rizund suggests that our brains have two systems. Our first system being quick and intuitive and being the one that comes up with the superstitious reasoning, and the second system will recognize that that association is irrational. However, our behavior will still come from the first system despite the second system telling us it's irrational. But there are a lot of benefits to superstitions. People in war-torn areas will turn to their religious scripture for comfort. Athletes may feel high self-efficacy when they have a lucky charm, and their performance will be better, creating a positive feedback loop. And so, to kind of conclude, people have been keen on picking up on patterns, and it may be an evolutionary tool for our survival. And while our brains hyper-focus and pick up on patterns that might not be there, it may still be for our benefit, and as long as we don't let fear dictate truth, then superstitions can be a fun cultural thing. Thank you for watching.